Major League Baseball. A term first coined in 1876, comprises 30 teams across North America and is the oldest professional sporting league in the continent. Since its inception in the 19th century, humans have been the deciding factor in classifying whether a thrown pitch is a ball or a strike. Sophisticated, yet error-ridden, the human eye makes countless mistakes, and one can only imagine what the outcomes of games, series, even championships could have been had it not been for said human error. This begs the question, what would have baseball been like had it had a perfect automated system? Would it actually make the sport more fair, more systematic? Who would it help? Who would it hurt? Is it even possible to do so? These and many more questions I want to try and answer in this video. Could perfect baseball ever become a reality? Well, to address that last one, no. Quote-unquote perfect baseball will never be a thing. Baseball, in fact, is the only sport that has a category specifically for human error to show the effectiveness at one's defense. That's right. Remember when you were playing t-ball and you fumbled that little hopper towards second base? Yeah, that was your fault, Timmy, and everyone knows. But in all seriousness, baseball is the most statistic-heavy sport out there. It's all about the numbers. Sure, you might be more physical in football, and yes, you might be more agile in basketball, but in baseball, it's all about math. Half of the game is in your head. Or, I guess I should correctly say, the umpire's head. If you've never seen or played a game of baseball before, I'll explain it for you. Since my favorite team is the Minnesota Twins, I'll be using pictures of their players to mark the positions. In baseball, just like any other sport, there is an offense and a defense. On the defense, there are 9 guys. 1 here, 4 here, and 3 here. On the offense, there's only 1 guy. He starts here. What the offense wants to do is run around each of these bases in a counterclockwise fashion and come back where he started in order to score a point. Whoever has the most points after 9 intervals of offense and defense wins. And actually, there's 4 more secret players on the field. They don't play for either side, rather, they're there to officiate. They're called the umpires. The umpire-in-chief, otherwise known as the home plate umpire, sits here. The other 3 umpires are called base umpires. They stand here, here, and here. Each game, the umpires rotate positions in a clockwise fashion. So on game 1, the home plate umpire will be here, but on game 2, he'll move over to third base, and so on. The home plate umpire has to be one of the toughest jobs in all of sports. Heck, I'll even say it, one of the toughest jobs in the world. Calling balls and strikes. See, in baseball, umpires are right 99.99% of the time. Even when they're wrong, they're actually right. It wasn't until 2014 that teams could actually challenge calls made by umpires, but these calls were usually for whether a player was safe or not to determining balls and strikes. Let's take a look at a typical batter's box. The height of the box is dependent upon the person's, you guessed it, height. The taller a player is, the higher his batter box will be. The shorter a player is, the smaller it will be. The width of the box, however, is always static. It stretches from one end of the home plate to the other. In 2001, something incredible happened that changed the history of televised baseball forever. ESPN debuted its K-Zone on a game between the Texas Rangers and the Oakland Athletics. The K-Zone is what you see on your screen when watching a game today. It's an outline of the player's strike zone. Now, when your drunk uncle is yelling at the TV because the ump didn't call a strike that was 4 miles left of the plate, it'll actually show on screen. Pretty cool, right? Over the course of the past 2 decades, this invention has been adopted and adapted by other networks and is now a part of the norm when watching a baseball game today. But you know who this didn't help out? The umpires. This is why I mentioned earlier why home plate umpiring is one of the toughest jobs in the world. You are under constant scrutiny to whether you made the right call, and now that people have an even clearer view of whether a correct decision was made, it makes their jobs just that much worse. I mean, just go to YouTube right now. There's hundreds, if not thousands, of bad umpire or bad call compilations of umpires missing clear strikes. This again begs the question, if we remove that human error factor, would baseball be better? Would there be no more wrong calls if we use an automated system rather than a human? Now listen, I'm not out here trying to get umpires removed. Most of these guys have been officiating for over a decade, and I'm sure they want to do their job correctly. Have bad calls been made before? Absolutely. No one, not even the umpires, are going to disagree with that. That's why the human error is a factor in baseball. In a 3-hour-long game where on an average of 150 pitches are thrown by either side, you as an umpire have the responsibility to be focused and alert for that long. Making upwards of 300 decisions all within the blink of an eye sounds anything but easy. Due to advancements in technology, however, talk has come up now more than ever of trialing automatic pitch callers. In fact, it was reported back in December of 2019 that the MLB already has plans to test out an automatic strike zone for the 2020 season. And we all know how that turned out. But let's look at the tests that have been done outside of the pros. What you're watching on screen right now is footage of the debut of Trackman, the first electronic umpire. You'll notice there is still an umpire behind the plate. He is merely there to call out the rulings determined by the machine. How it works is that someone is sitting upstairs next to a computer that is reading the strike zone from a special camera. From there, Trackman will determine whether the pitch being thrown is a ball, indicated by green, or a strike, indicated by red. After the indication, the person reading it will use a microphone to relay the message to the home plate umpire who will give the call. Needless to say, the debut did not go over well, and there are a lot of really bad calls. There were some players that got extremely frustrated with how the system was going, but the umpires literally couldn't do anything. So where do we go from here? Well, as it has been shown, Trackman definitely needs some more tweaking. A lot of the players have stance changes from before the ball is being thrown to when it crosses over the plate. This is something difficult for a computer to account for, as a strike zone usually shrinks. A called strike may have happened because it didn't take into account the change in zone. However, this is something an umpire is really good at. See, the human mind is great for thinking on its feet. The umpire can tell the change in size of a strike zone much quicker than a computer can. Right now, that is. That's now, though. With the advancements in time also come the advancements in technology, and these automated strike callers will continue to get better and better. My fear is if they debut Trackman in the show too early without fine and proper adjustments, it could benefit pitchers in a major way. Say there's a small dead zone where Trackman either picks up one side of the plate that doesn't always get called correctly. It should be a ball, but it usually calls it a strike. Pitchers will learn and hone in on this. They'll throw any pitch that they can to get into that sweet spot just because it's going to be much harder for a batter to hit and a much larger chance for it being called a strike. Hitting could suffer majorly from it, and we might just see one of the worst slugging averages for that first season. A segment on MLB Tonight caught my attention on this very topic. Granted, this was almost 4 years ago, but I still think the argument stands.
40-some years of baseball. I'm saying, okay, just because you have the technology doesn't mean you have to use it. I like the umpires. I think it's part of the game. I think arguing with the umps is part of the game. Balls and strikes, all that stuff. I just think, why do we have to change everything? Why do we have to change everything, BK?
You know why? Because then the concentration, the focus will be on the athletes, on the game, and get the umpires help. It's not, look, we accept it all around the diamond now that you get them help, get the call right. We all know, no matter, I'm not blaming the umpires, and they'll have a job. You still need somebody back back there, but you can just get help and say that's either a ball or a strike, and those arguments are over.
Right. Because I think right now the home plate umpiring is so much better. And listen, and not to go back, but remember the home plate, the playoff game, Eric Gregg, Levon Hernandez?
Oh, that was terrible.
I mean, we're talking about
87.
balls that are 5-6 inches off the plate.
Strikes.
That's not happening now today. These home plate umpires, for the most part, do a terrific job. And listen, that's a tough job, and you're going to be out there, particularly a Red Sox-Yankees game. You're going to have 8 pitching changes. There's going to be 300 pitches thrown in that game, and it's hard to concentrate the entire time. But I think, for the most part, they do a terrific job.
Would it be better? Honestly, overall, my personal opinion, I think yes. But it does come at a catch. If the MLB ever decides to switch over to automated strike calling, I think it will be horrible for probably the first season. I think it'll get abused and benefit the smarter people that know how to use it. But once everyone gets used to it and it gets improved upon, I think it'll be a real game changer. It is a little interesting to see why this man in particular thinks human error is just part of the game. I guess I can understand where he's coming from, but do I agree? Not at all. I think the more accurate we can get to perfection, the better. This is why I believe eventually, whether it be 10 or 20 years down the line, the MLB will have a full-time automated home plate umpire. Whether you guys choose to agree or disagree with me, that stance is up to you. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say though, because I think on this topic there really is no wrong answer, and it's really interesting to discuss about. Baseball always has been, and always will be, my favorite sport, and I will continue to watch it until Joe Mauer gets inducted into the Hall of Fame, and I'll do that after too, because he deserves it. I love everything there is about the game, and I hope more of you will come to appreciate America's greatest pastime. Guys, thank you for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. I hope to try and get some more videos out in the future. If you want to follow me on any of my other socials, they'll be linked in the description. If you want to share this video with anyone else, make sure to do that too. That's it for me, but until then, I'll see you all next time.
It's midnight conversations. Forget the complications. Soon see the sunrise. Look, we've all made